Hi everyone, I continue on the lesson which is topic 4. So here I already talked about how to graph a line using table of values, and now I want to talk about another graph which is a curve. This is not a line because I see x squared, and I have a domain and a part from -1 to 5. When you want to graph a curve, which will you will learn this in next math course 273 with more details. If you don't have all those details, just to know about the function, to know about the graph, how it looks like, and those things. If I don't give you the part, for example, from where to where, maybe you choose from -2 to 2, and then you miss a very important part of the graph, because this is not a line, that's a curve. Okay, so in this case, for now, if I tell you I want you to graph it using table of values, I have to give you x values. Okay, from where do you start and from just up to what number. Okay, so for now we just graph it using table of values. We don't have all those information that we need. We learn all of those information in calculus, and then we can graph with all of those information that we have. So for now we just use table of values. Okay, so the same as before. So I give values to x, but values to x, it's not a line, it is given to me. If I have a line, I do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, because that's agreement between us. But for now that I have another function and this is given to me, so I do -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the same as before, x are just independent, y are dependent to x, so I cannot say x is -1 and y is 10 because I like it. No, I have to find y. Okay, so y is -1 squared -4 times -1 -3, which is 1 plus 4, 5, -3 is 2. Okay, if I put 0, so it's 0 squared -4 times 0 -3 equal -3 when I do 0. How about if I do the other one? So 1. Okay, so it's 1 squared -4 times 1 -3 equal, so what's the number here? The number here for 1 is -6. How about if I do 2 squared -4 times 2 -3, which is, sorry about that, so it's 4 minus 8, which is -4, -3, which is -7. How about if I do 3? So it's 3 squared -4 times 3 minus -3 again, so it's 9. 9 minus 12, 9 minus 12 minus 3, so -3 is -6. Okay, so if I put 4, then when I put 4, I see it's -3, and when I put 5, it's 2. And you can see this and this the same, you can see this and this the same, you can see this and this the same, and this one is just the only one. Okay, so maybe it's like, so I can say these some points in y values, some of them are repeating. So for example, for two different x, I have the same y. Okay, and right now, and also maybe from before or maybe in future, I will really know that this function, which is a squared function, I hope it's going well here. This is just a problem. Okay, so which is just a squared function that looks like a parabola. So this type of functions that you have a squared one for x, so it looks like this or this. Okay, so we say like a hat or like a ball, for example. Okay, so I have all the x's, I have all y's. So for x, I just have a little bit on negative and a lot on positive. For y, I have more on negative and less on positive. So I have to try my best to just occupy my graphing paper in a good manner to show everything very beautiful. Okay, so as I said, I need x more on positive, okay, and y more on negative. Okay, so I can do, let me see, I can do this here. Okay, so yes, okay, I can do this because I need more positive value, and for y I need more negative, so I can do, for example, let me see, because it's just to 2. Yes, so I can do, for example, this way, for example. Okay, so then can I do so 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, so I can check. Okay, so I can say, for example, that's 0, that's minus 1, so 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so see here, this one is minus 1, this one is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Okay, so here I can go 2 by 2 for x. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 and 5. Perfect. Okay, so why I don't go 1 by 1? Because then I have a part which is left and I don't use it, and I don't want that. I want to use my graphing paper in a good manner, just to show everything very beautiful. I try my best to use the whole part of graphing paper as much as is possible. Okay, so how about for y values? Okay, so for y values I need to go one by one, because I don't have a lot of space. So it's minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6. So it's minus 6 here and minus 7 here. Okay, so I showed this is minus 7, this is minus 6. Okay, and also that's 1 and that's 2. Okay, so I cannot do more than that. Okay, so, and I really don't need. Okay, so what is the first point? The first point is minus 1 and 2. Okay, where is minus 1? Minus 1 is here, 2 is here. This is the first point. The next point is 0 and minus 3. Okay, so 0 here and minus 3 here. Okay, so maybe here I change the color to black, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is 1 and minus 6. So 1 is here and minus 6 is here. Okay, how about, okay, so 1 and minus 6. How about, so maybe I keep the color the same, so 1 and minus 6. And how about 2 and minus 7? Okay, 2 and minus 7 is here, so 2 and minus 7. Okay, and then 3 and minus 6, so 3 and minus 6 is here. Okay, and 4 and minus 3, so 4 and minus 3 is here, and 5 and 2 is here. Okay, now I connect them, and as you can see, it's like a it's like a it's like a ball. Okay, so I have either this type or either this type when it comes to degree 2. Okay, when I have just degree 2 x squared in just quadratic, so I have to, yeah, I have to have this I have to keep this in my mind, that the graph looks like this way. Okay, and the reason I said from minus 1 to 5 is because if I say, for example, if I say just from minus 2 to 2, then if I say just from here, for example, to here, you don't see the whole part of the graph, but we want to really see what the important part of the graph and how graph looks like. Okay, so that's why. So we try to, okay, so I hope, okay, so we just try to use what we have here for x. So I have to give it to you. If I ask you to graph something rather than line, I have to give it to you. Or when you go to the next math course, you learn how to graph, and you learn calculus, you learn many things about functions, and then you can graph it there. Okay, so the next one is this. I'm not sure if I something goes wrong when I just zoom. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can really see this. Okay, so look at this. You have this function which is power 3. Okay, when you have power 3, so function looks like something like, for example, something like this, or something like this. Okay, something like this. Okay, so I can keep this in my mind that if I have a degree 3 function, okay, y equals something power 3, so it looks like this. But still for now that I don't have a lot of information, I don't know calculus, I don't know how to find many information about the graph and function, I have to have from where to where, so I need to have values on x. Okay, so again I use table of values. I put values for x, so I do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, and then I find those values. Okay, how do I find y values? I just substitute. Okay, so I substitute, it's -1, sorry, it's 1 over 2, so it's 1 over 2, 2 squared, minus 2 cubed. Okay, -2 cubed plus -2 squared minus 1, which is -1. If I do -1, then it is minus half. Okay, my function is, maybe because I cannot zoom, I have to write it here just large. Okay, so y is 1 over 2 x cubed plus x squared minus 1. Okay, -1, right? And then I can just sub in. Okay, if I put 0, what happened? It's -1. If I put 1, what happened? When I do 1, it is half. Okay, and when I do 2, it is 7. When I do, okay, 2 is 7. Okay, so look at x values. For x values, do I have negative? Yes. Do I have positive? Yes. Are they the same space? I mean 2 and -2, yes, they are equal, so I have equal positive, equal negative. Okay, so for x values I can just give half half. How about for y values? Okay, for y values I have 7, and in negative I have -1. Okay, so because I have -2 -1, -1 minus half, 0 -1, 1 and a half, and 2, 2 and 7. Okay, so for y values I have negative, but I just have a big part for positive because I have up to 7. Okay, so okay, good. So maybe I can, for example, maybe I can do this one here. I can do just, let me see, this one in the middle, for example. I try my best. Okay, so that's in the middle. Okay, so that's, if I can do it really correctly. Sometimes it's very hard when I do, yeah. And this is just this position. Okay, so that's x and that's y. That's agreement. X independent variables go horizontal, dependent one goes vertical. Must be from up to down and from left to right. We don't do it any other way. This is agreement. Okay, so then do I have a space? Okay, yes, here I do. So I can do 3. So it's 1 2 -1 -2. Okay, so here I go 3 by 3 because I have a space. So I don't need to go one by one, because otherwise it will be, everything will be squeezed, and I don't want that. I want to see everything very well. I want to use my graphing paper in a good manner to see my graph very well. Okay, so how about the next? So the next one, I need to go to 7. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 here. Okay, so let me see. So here I have to go one by one, because I don't have a space to go, so 2 by 2. Okay, so because I have up to 7, so I do 1. Okay, so I just do it this way. And okay, so I say this is 2 and this is 4 and this is 6 and this is 8 and this is 10. So I don't really need to show 1 2 3 because it will be so busy and crowded, and I really don't want. I want to show everything very beautiful. Okay, so this one is -2 then. Okay, this one is -2. Okay, so now I find so here I find all my values. So it's -2 and -1. So -2 and -1. Okay, so yeah, -2 and -1 is here. -1.5. Okay, so -1.5. So it's here. Half. Okay, so 0 and -1. So 0 and -1. It's here. 1.5. So 1.5. Okay, so it's here. 2 and 7. So 2 and 7. So I go to 6 and 7 and it's here. Okay, so I do this. Okay, as I said, it looks like this way. So it's like this guy. So and like something like, for example, this guy. Okay, when you have power 3, so you have y equals something cubed. Okay, and here is x cubed. X cubed is here. Okay, so this is your function. Okay, so for now, if I give you a line or a curve, if you just have to graph it by table of values. For lines, we are going to learn more graphing techniques and more graphing methods in topic 5, but for now in topic 4 we just know that. Okay, and if it's a line, you go from -2 to 2. That's agreement. If it's a curve, I need to give you from where to where, and you have to use those values. Okay, so now I want to talk about graphing rules. There are some rules here when you want to graph. Graphing is very important for you when you are working in lab. So you are finding that datas, you are measuring datas, you are calculating, you are finding, you are just so many things, many datas in the lab. And for example, they ask you to graph it. For example, you have to graph something based off time when you measure something. So time is passing, you are measuring something for different times and you want to graph it. Okay, so we have to know what to do. First of all, when you are working in lab and working for a word problem, you have to have a title. Okay, so the title must be precise. So the title must be top of the page, and you have to underline the title. Okay, the title shouldn't be something versus something else. No, the title must be informative. So for example, I am graphing this based on this. For example, what is the unit, what is the name of each variables, and those things. So the same as conclusion sentence that I tell you, it has to be informative. So I tell you it has to be informative, this one as well. Okay, so the title. For me, I want to see the title, but they say you have to have a date top right corner. So for me, it doesn't matter, but for the lab work, when you are writing in lab, when you are graphing for lab, you should have date in top. You should have figure number, because for example, you are writing a report, you should say, okay, this is figure number 1, figure number 2, because you want to refer to them, maybe you want to talk about them. Okay, so and you have to use the united way, all of you, just to learn, because here you are really learning. In my course, you are really learning many basics for future courses. Okay, you have to write your name. So name, course name, which section, just top of the paper, right corner. For me, when you are graphing for me in the quiz or test, you don't have to do this. But these are necessary for lab work. Okay, for me as well, you have to label each axis. Okay, so don't write axis X and Y. No. So for axis X, maybe I am using time, and time is hours. For example, unit is hour. maybe I am measuring the temperature on y-axis. I'm writing on y-axis for the temperature. For example, the time is passing. I am measuring the temperature in the oven. Okay, so that's on y. So I have to say temperature, not y. I have to say what is the unit. I will show you. Okay, so you have to show all the, okay, so what is independent, what is dependent, and what are the units. Okay, symbols, units, and everything. This is also important for me as well, that you have to choose the scale, okay, in a very good way to show your graph, to use the whole part of the paper, so to use and to show your graph very beautiful. So I don't want you to just use a very small part of the graph and just a big part of the graph is not used. Okay, this is not good graphing techniques. Okay, so we have to look at our data and see what is maximum value. Okay, what's wrong here? What is maximum value? What is minimum value? Okay, so how can I divide all my datas? How can I divide between the time? Just divide by the time that by the space that I have. Okay, how can I do that? So what is maximum value? What is minimum value? How can I divide them? Okay, so make sure that you are consistent. For example, if you have, two squares for example equal 10, you have to continue the same way for the whole axis. I will show you. So you cannot say, okay, so for example, sometimes I see this mistake. For example, a student are doing this, so they do 0 here. Oops. For example, okay, they do 0 here, they do 1 here, and they do 2 here. Okay, from here to here is 1, from here to here is also 1. That's wrong. It has to be the same. Okay, I mean that. Okay, so that, and so let me see, make sure to label them. So for example, a part, for example, maybe the graph, for example, x values or time, for example, doesn't start from 0, so I don't need to show 0. For example, maybe I have to skip and start from 400. Okay, so I will see these, and I will show you. You will see, I will show you on examples. Okay, so points, you have to plot each point. Okay, plot each point, and so maybe you have to do curve of best fit. Okay, maybe you have to connect points. Okay, so for now we connect the points, but for the lab you will learn how to do curve of best fit. Also in topic 14 you will learn how to do curve of best fit using Excel file, and using Excel file is more accurate and very beautiful and easier if you learn those techniques. Okay, so now graphing data. So here for now, if I am working in a lab and I have data from there, I call them just empirical that data. So how about if I have those kind of data? So what should I do in order to graph? Okay, so you can follow all this process. Okay, and I will just also show you an example. So treat the independent as variable. Okay, so the independent variable goes on x values and dependent one goes on y. Okay, what is independent variable? Independent variable is, for example, time. That is that you don't change it. You cannot change time. Okay, time is passing. But for example, you are measuring the temperature in the oven, or for example, you have concentration. You have and you are using the concentration in order to find something. Okay, what you find using the information that you have is on y-axis. Okay, because you measured something. What you measure, what you find, okay, is on y-axis, and what you really have and exist, it's on x-axis. Okay, make sure to use as a pairs like x and y. Yes, of course I have to do that because I'm working on 2 dimension. It has to be 2 values. Okay, what is the scale, appropriate scale? What is x axis? Don't write x and y. No, label them. What is the unit? Label them, show me the unit. So label them and show me the unit. Okay, plot them and connect the points. So you connect them, okay, and create the title. So you need to have a title for that. Okay, so for me these yellow things, they are important. Okay, for lab you have to follow all of these, but make sure to listen to your instructor, listen to your supervisor in future when you have a job. Maybe you have to do more things in order to provide the graph for the data that you find. Okay, so the first question is here, and it's I'm going to continue this in the next video. So I finish here and I continue after. Thank you so much. Bye.